Good evening, televiewers. Welcome to another edition of Prime on my Media Prime. We this evening are going to be looking at the elites of the Southwest and Northwest regions with respect to the ongoing killings that are happening in the region. We note that some persons were killed in Menchum Division. There was a massacre in Akwaya Manu Division the other day. We know that persons have been dying in Mezam, in almost all the divisions of the Southwest and Northwest regions. And in the midst of all of this, we have not heard the elites from the Southwest or Northwest regions come out actually either condemning what is happening, reaching out to the actors that are the authors of the ongoing killings. Almost nothing is being said by the elites from these two regions. Are they fed up with the situation? Are they voiceless? Are they caught between two evils? Also, how do we explain that this is happening and almost nobody is saying anything? We're going to be looking at the reasons behind this silence. Maybe they are doing a certain back game discussions that we are not aware of. We would really want to know and also tell the population of these regions that their elites are actually very concerned about what is happening with them. We understand that the insecurity in Manfi now is also very, very high. What is happening in that part of the country? We are discussing on this topic with our panelists who are in the house already. Dr. Ako John Ako is in the house. He is a key member of Cameroon Civil Society and a lecturer across some universities in Cameroon. Good evening, Doctor, and welcome.
Yeah, Leonard, it's a pleasure. In fact, over 6 years now, many will tell you that the Anglophone crisis has become one of which the Cameroon government is still expecting to propose real solutions, adequate solutions to the problem, which at the beginning, others said it wasn't and does not even exist. Today, we find an elite that I may not call them elites again, we might refer to some of them as internally displaced citizens that can no longer visit some part of their own territory they are called to represent. Others at the Senate, others as ministers, and again, many others in terms of civil society activists, especially those of us who find ourselves in the east of the Mongo. And I'm telling you that it is not really easy presently with the people of Manfi. After the burning down of the district hospital of that town, there have been continuous attack, somewhere in Ebonji, in Akwaya, and most differently, recently, again, still in the Akwaya subdivision, people says inter-village conflict has led into the death of over 46 others. To what extent can Cameroonians, to what extent can the powers that be take appropriate solutions in helping that particular situation? Most often, people have been thinking that when the situation can no longer go, the elites of a particular region are always called upon to make the voices of those who suffer. We are talking of the grassroots. These are the people who bear the consequences of the struggle between the Anglophone Cameroon and the Republic of Cameroon, and they have been creating a lot of pains. Not only of those who are in that particular area. Again, we have seen a lot of deaths across the border and others in other places. We are sincerely thinking that the present government might have not been adequate. And why not, when some of us call for international intervention, to produce an international mediation to solve the problem? Somewhere we thought that the Ghanaian mediation could do, others said equally that the Swiss talk was on its way. But today, all this rested in our eyes, in our ears, as just winds carrying or bearing no messages. And at the end of the day, the common man still live in fear, still live in panic, still live in suffering. Others without electricity. Some bridges cut off, some schools are not even open. It continues to wither the forces of this particular region, which others were saying that the Southwest region and the Anglophone Cameroon in particular remain one of those basic regions in Cameroon that act as a life wire to the nation of Cameroon. Can the elites of this particular area equally give a response that is adequate? Some of them had learned that they fight more of their stomach and their families rather than for the interests of those they are called upon to defend.
Okay. We also are in the company of Professor Mark Anthony. He is a Panafricanist. Good evening, Professor, and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Liu. Good evening, Africa. Good evening, Cameroon. And good evening, Douala.
Okay. We are also going to be discussing with Paddy Asanga, who will be participating from Germany. Paddy, are you there? Good evening and welcome.
Yes, Leo. Good evening. Can you hear me, sir? Can you hear me, Leo?
Yes, I can hear you. Come in.
Okay. Good evening, Leo, and good evening to my good friend, Dr. John Ako, a very bright civil society, Mark Anthony, and all your panelists.
Paddy, we can get your sound. You have to put on your video. Your video is not on. We can't see you.
My video is on. My video is on.
We
get
you 5 on 5, but the video is not on. While you get the video, we are going to continue out here. Please, when the video is on, Eli, let me know. I'll start with you. Dr. Ako, John Ako, as things stand, it appears nobody actually is worried about what is going on, because when we are worried, we show signs of being worried. We air our worries. We talk about it. Do you have the impression that the elites of the Southwest and Northwest are actually worried? Are they afraid to speak out, to say we've buried enough children, we've buried enough brothers, we've buried enough sisters, things are not going the way we wanted, and we are representing these regions? We think that, okay, we might have failed at this level, this should be the way forward.
Yeah, when we talk of the elites, you will realize that a lot of them find themselves with the government, and a lot of times the government of Cameroon had informed or told Cameroonians that it is going to be one that they will resolve, and that with time things will naturally die out. Now that we have equally seen that 5 years has been too much a period and nothing is dying away. On this same platform, remember one time I said the representative of the people are those who are supposed to carry the worries of the people ahead. I quoted an example of what happened in 1954 in what we call the Eastern Regional Crisis and what we call the Benevolent Neutrality Bloc. That if members of parliament, members of the National Assembly, those who make up the Senate, the ministers, if in a course of a normal meeting, in a course of a normal plenary session, if they boycott and instead say we are attending a church session in Boya to see on how we can pray to God, asking him to provide us a divine solution to this particular problem that has been worrying Cameroon for the past 5 or 6 years, it is again disturbing that we now begin to think that those who have voted to represent the people, after getting the votes, today represents their families, and if not, the government or the party that voted them. You get to another extent, we tend to understand that some of them were not even voted. Some of those who we call elite don't even exist as an elite. An elite is somebody that can push forth something, somebody that protects the interests of others. But then those today we see are those who care more about their worries at the level of their various families, their job, how can they secure it? And again, somewhere, people will be telling you that we live in a system where you can't talk the moment you walk within a particular master, and that he who pays the piper calls the tune, or at the same time, you can't be the figure that fits you. So people live with all these principles we are saying are what we call egoistic proverbs and tendencies that tend to reduce the impact. Very few we might not be putting everybody to, because we have had a lot of excerpts of people like Mbela Moki Charles, and we can see Gala Gerard, who are doing a lot within their various communities. We cannot equally mention. If we tend to mention here, it might be like an affront to those who say they were representing the people, or those who are ministers from the same area who can visit their own area except under strict military guidance or military control. If your own people, if you are afraid of your own people, then surely there is an indication that you don't represent the people. The representative of the people are those who take forward the worries of the people of that area. They should be capable to be with the people in times of need. They should be capable of being by the people in times of problems, in times of difficulties. But today, we find a whole elite who thinks an insult and called others dogs, others frogs, others terrorists, and others just people who have nothing to do. And that is where we find ourselves. Can elite, when you see, in most developed democracy, you cannot stand to govern or represent a people that don't represent or voted you to that particular position. Can we all say that we have failed? We have failed to save the killings of innocent civilians, like just what happened about a month ago in Benchum Valley, just again, few days ago in Akwaya. It is sad that those who are not even concerned of the crisis, those who are not even aware of what we are fighting for, pay the prices of those who think are supposed to make the right decision. If we are unable to handle this problem, there's a need for us to single out those who really stand for the people. It is really, really worrying. It is sad to see that you call yourself an elite of an area. In that particular area, you haven't visited it freely in recent days. If you can't visit, what is the problem? And how can we manage it? We should be capable of responding to the need of our people. If we can't talk the story of the Akwaya people, of which you represent the people of Akwaya, if we cannot meet up the needs of the people of the Imojok, of which you represent the people of Imojok or Upper Bayan, or those who come from Furawa, if you can't talk their needs, why are they fighting? You are not aware. How can they resolve such a problem? You are not aware. Then you are called not to be considered an elite of that particular area. We have a duty. We have a mandate. The mandate is that we answer to the appointment that we have undertaken. Okay. And that appointment is to see that the areas that were governed with peace, there is a need for peace to return. Okay. If we can't go back home, then there is a need to provide adequate solution. Let's be sincere. Okay.
Paddy Asanga seems to be there. Paddy, good evening and welcome.
Yes. Good evening, Leo, and I'm sorry for the technicalities. I don't know my end or from yours, and I'm also saying to my friend, Dr. John, and your other panelists. You know, I like this topic that you just brought here tonight, that we should debate on it. And Leo, I want to categorize or define who is an elite. Is an elite somebody who was appointed? Is an elite somebody with a title? Is an elite somebody who was elected? Or are we talking about our natural elites who are our chiefs, sons, fonts, and chiefs? Are we talking about our religious elites who are the imams and the pastors and priests? So we have to situate that in context, and each and every category of people in this definition of who an elite is and should be has a shared responsibility for that. I'm happy that we are going to talk about the issue of Akwaya in womb, the targetings of minority communities, and this intertribal wars within our community, which is not something new. That one also factor in. And you want to also understand that from all these areas where we are coming from, what we are trying to put out here to your audience, you would know that when the massacre happened in Garbu, there was an outcry. There are certain types of massacre that happen. You see people come and cry, and when it happens, some type of happen, people don't come out to cry, which tells you exactly what is happening on the ground. When the military goes somewhere and kills people, they will outcry. Women and children, they will come out and march. But when the so-called Amber Boys, they go somewhere and kill people, there is going to be silence. People are going to be dead because they are afraid of their life. They are afraid of their loved ones who are there. And you know, the orders that is coming from diaspora is that if you don't speak, you speak against what Amber Boys are doing, and you are on the ground, you send the Amber Boys to come and kill you. So we should plan that declaration and make sure that we give our people actual and credible information and defy them as to why people are silent when it is fire, and when it was Garbu, they were loud. why they were silent when it was Kumba and when it was, I think, Pinyin massacre in Bamenda, people came out and decried it. We should put things in context so that don't get up here. Thank you, Leo.
Okay, Professor Mark Anthony, you just you listen to what he says. He says that there are instances where when people are killed, there is a general outcry, and in other instances, almost everybody is silent. Though I want us to focus on the elites. Elites are they actually caught between the web, where they are afraid of how the government may judge their position, and also afraid of the reaction that may come from the bench of the separatists?
Mr. Liu, thank you for the opportunity. I want to begin by actually declaring that the idea of elites here is something that we need to best understand. Who an elite is what a lot of persons not really put into perspective. An elite is not an elected individual. An elite is a group of individuals with a particular quality and quantity that permits them, or let me use the word capacity, that permits them to influence the way things happen in a particular community. And so we have, like Paddy Asanga actually mentioned, we have elites who are coming from, who are pastors, we have elites who are traditional doctors, traditional rulers, we have elites from, in fact, all around. So if we have to look at the situation that is happening right now, where you have situations happening, for example, you mentioned the Ngabo issue, I think everybody went out crying. People came out and marched. So I'm shocked that since the issue in Akwaya happened, nothing is being said. Everybody seems to be quiet. The question is, what is happening? Some individuals are afraid to talk, Mr. Liu, because it was mentioned that it is something that was done by Ambas. And so as a result of that, people are afraid of their relatives. Some of them are afraid of their properties that might be confiscated or burned or destroyed. Some of them are afraid of their lives. And so, Mr. Liu, we are living in a complicated time. And one of the things I would mention is, I think that evil is evil. It doesn't matter the color. And it should be condemned by whosoever does it. We should condemn it. And so when I see that our so-called elites, especially those that seems to have been eating fat because they were actually representing the people politically, when they are quiet, it hurts. Because I think that most of them are in power because they were elected, for those who were elected, to represent the people. And even if they were chosen for a people. And so the voices of the people should be what should concern them. But if the people are suffering and they stay quiet, I am talking to that pastor who is listening to me right now, who is supposed to be an elite of that area, Akwaya. I am talking to that businessman who is coming from Akwaya, who is supposed to be listening to me right now, who is supposed to be an elite of that area. I'm talking to that politician. I'm talking to that government official. What do you think the people out there need right now? I think that they need peace. And if we cannot give them peace, then we should make them feel we are concerned. Because being quiet is a means, it's another way of being complacent, and it's another way of supporting what is happening. And so I think that it is time for us to speak. A lot of persons do not feel the pain that most of these people are feeling. I don't know if you know what it means to have gone to the hospital and burn it down, like it happened in Kumba, like it happened in Manfe the other day. You don't know what it means to enter into a village and kill people, bloodshed everywhere, and practically nobody's saying anything. And so where do you think we are going to? If we are elites, then it's time for us to make ourselves elites. Being an elite is not just a title. Being an elite is being capable of extending a hand when the people are in need of a hand. Being an elite means that we need to get to the people when they are in pain, and we try to soften their hearts. We might be just telling them, you need to calm down. You might be able to buy something and give somebody. They need your consent.
Okay. Paddy Asanga, this first question to you. Are the elites afraid? We hear very little from them. We usually saw them do back to its homecoming. They were celebrated, and most of them, we saw them dance groups organized. Are they afraid today, either of the government or the separatists?
Listen, Leo, this whole thing about elite has to do with legitimacy and grassroots movement. I don't know what you call in asking me your question, you put in as a content to it. You are
an elite. You are an elite in the diaspora from the Northwest region. Everybody who has that capacity, go on.
Yes, but Leo, I am not on the ground, and my voice is limited to the community where I come from. And if something happens within Santa subdivision, you can call me to ask me. I'll tell you who did what and who did not do what, because I am connected to the people who are at the grassroots. So if that makes me an elite, I'll consider you. But I am, as in my position sitting here far back home, I'm very concerned about what happens in the entire Cameroon. And this particular question where people are silent, it is a very delicate and dicey situation, because it is the locality of Akwaya has been caught up in a web of tribal wars which have long existed, and then Amber boys who have messed up the whole situation and are coming in now, are being used to settle scores. So don't expect those people who have been fueling those tribal wars to come and spill and to come and talk. No, because they know some of these Amber boys, and they have been using some of these boys to do their to do their dirty jobs. So you will not expect such people to come and speak, especially people who were appointed. You want to understand that even though some of those who are elected, because they were not well elected, we know that in the Northwest and Southwest region, according to our configuration, this post-colonial configuration where we say parliamentarians come left, right, center, and so on and so forth, there are parliamentarians from those areas who are supposed to have the mandate of those people. Why are they not talking? Because they know that they don't represent the people of Akwaya or whatever locality where we have some of this atrocity coming from. So we should be very careful in when we analyze situations like this. When you also have a very dicey situation in the Northwest also, between the people of Bali and those of Bawok, where some of us sit here in the diaspora and want to fuel that intertribal conflict that has existed for a very long time. And I'm just creating an alert. I'm warning people that if we are not careful, the same thing will happen somewhere around that area between the people of Bali and Bawok people, because the Amba people who are here are saying that Bamileke people should leave, and they claim that Bawok people are people from Bangante who came and settled there. So those are some of the situations. And people who are pro-Amba, who want to use those Amba, they will be silent because they know why they sent those Amba boys to go and do those dirty jobs. And just like in Akwaya, you have people who have been elites, they have been in the government, they have been in the system, they have been ministers, they have been in the justice system, they have been foiling Amba, and now the chickens are coming home to roost. So it is very clear, and I'm telling you, after our own long investigation, that massacre was committed by Amba, and they were used to fuel a long-standing conflict. So don't expect those elites to come and speak, because if you supported Amba yesterday and you turn around and you start talking against them or condemning their crime, they will come after you. If they don't get you, they'll go after your family. So the elites are afraid. Call whoever you want to call an elite. life is sacred. Nobody will want to put his life in danger because of a certain, to say a few words and people start coming to cut your head and put on sticks.
Okay, thank you very much. We've just been joined by Prince Joel. Joel, do you also agree, like Paddy Asanga, that life is sacred? Almost everybody is afraid. If we are afraid as elites, we benefited when the times were good now. Is this not also the time to endorse responsibility as representatives of these communities?
Thank you, Mr. Liu, for having me. Good evening to the panelists and to Paddy Asanga, as well as all those who are watching my media prime now. I think that the truth is life is sacred, like Paddy said. Nobody wants to die, and nobody wants to sacrifice their life for any reason. The truth is, Mr. Liu, I want to pick up from where Paddy ended, because I happen to have gone to ground zero. It's not been up to 2 weeks. When I went to the village, I remember that elders called me, and this is what they told me. Some of those things that you guys do in Douala and say in Douala, this is the village. And that the village is slippery. And that at times there are certain things that you say out there and go scot-free, you will not say them here. Now, Mr. Liu, the situation of elites in the northwest and the southwest being mute, I think that we can look at it from 2 angles. The first angle is the fact that there are a lot of persons who've benefited because of the crisis. A lot of persons, and as such, they will not want Gary to be removed from their mouth. Why I'm saying so is because we know that after the crisis, or as the crisis started in 2016, a lot of commissions have been created, and these commissions, a majority are headed by Anglophones. You don't expect them to say the crisis should end, so the commissions end, because an end to the crisis means that the commission should end. They will not want the crisis to end now. And far from that, Mr. Liu, now, the common man, when I talk of the common man, I'm talking of that person who is actually powerful, who actually has the voice. But now, when you go in each community, Mr. Liu, there is one person who actually dictates. In every community, there is somebody who is considered the last man standing. You want to say something, but you find yourself being held because the person feels that you want to step on their toes. So people actually have the will, because I spoke with a lot of people while I was in the Northwest, and I discovered that people actually have grievances. People are actually not very comfortable with the situation that is ongoing in the Northwest as well as in the Southwest. But the question is, how do they make their voices heard? Once you make your voice heard, you're going to step on the toes of an authority. And once you step on the toe of an authority, we know that what is going on in the Northwest and the Southwest today, Mr. Liu, at times it's very difficult. When you want to preach peace, like you, when you preach peace, 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 you're tagged that you're pro-government. Now, when you are that kind of a person who is maybe outspoken and says, this is this and that is that, and you want to say an elite did this, which is actually wrong, you are also considered by the other camp, which should be the separatists, that you are maybe supporting. So, at the end of the day, Mr. Liu, people love their lives. And nobody wants to die, because nobody wants to become a martyr. Nobody is Jesus Christ. People love their lives, and people think that the crisis, the government knows the reason for the crisis. And people still feel that a lot of things have been said about the crisis, that if at all the government wanted it to end, it would have ended. But now it boils down to the fact aspects of the elites, because I listened to Prof. Prof talked about elite being maybe him and I. But now at the end of the day, in each community where we come from, there are those who decide. There are those who say this happens at this time, and there are those who say this does not happen at this time. Now, we're instead thinking that it should be these people who command the community. They should rather be the ones who tell the powers that be, or who should tell the community that, okay, there is a problem. This is how we should solve it. But now the same people will not want to. Because, Mr. Liu, you will talk to most big people of the Camara, they'll tell you, we are not happy. But the but is the fact that somebody will not want to be tapped. Because once you come out and you start speaking hard, this is wrong, this is wrong. At the end of the day, it means that you are supporting Amber. We know people who are outspoken. May his soul rest in peace, like Senator Henry Kemende. Kemende was so outspoken. But many persons, he was an elite. He saw that so many things were wrong. But now at the end of the day, because you're too outspoken, those who don't look at the coin from your side feel that you are pro-Amber. But now when you stay mute, and you don't want to react too much, they feel that you are mute because you're benefiting too much from the government. So I feel that, Mr. Liu, it is a situation that is very complex. Complex because you are like in a, they call it the blue sea and the deep sea and you are like in a dilemma, because what do I do? You go to the community, like I was saying, I was in Mr. J recently. You have the will to talk. You even have the will to bring 2 or 3 of your brothers together and talk to them. But now, there is already a ban that says more than 10 or 20 people should not meet without an authorization. How do you talk to people? It means that even if you want to talk to your brothers that, okay, brothers, you've taken arms and you've gone to the bushes, come out. You need an authorization from the DO. And even when they feel that you are like some of us, that you say things the way they are supposed to be, no. Even you're already going to the village, it's considered that you are going to poison the minds of the youth. And as such, you're being monitored. So much so that you even want to hold a conversation with a group of people, they are withdrawing from you. Why? They don't want to be cited that they were seen with you. So I think that it's a very, very complex situation. Okay. And I understand why the elites are being mute. Why? First of all, because a majority are benefiting from the crisis, and they will not want what they are feeding fat from the crisis to be noticed. Okay.
Please, okay, Tamufo Samuel, good evening to you. Albert Bibi, and to you, Gonza Wilson, Tamufo Samuel. Okay, good evening to you, Nasiri Julius Bo, and all of you watching us on our social media handle, Facebook. Now, Dr. Ako, John Ako, are the elites just overwhelmed? Are they lack what to do? Are they overpowered by what they are saying? Is the sufferings of the people above them, and they are now just looking up to God?
Yeah.
Have they given up?
No, I don't think. Strategically, you will see that some have equally used the situation to cement their relationship with the power that be. A lot of people have gone into propaganda of the one and indivisible Cameroon, and others have said a united Cameroon for indivisible Cameroon. So you see like some of those who are more politically inclined have formed a lot of network. Until now, we were not aware that there are political groupings that can tilt towards supporting the government in Yaoundé. And so a lot of them now start negotiating. I said something here when Christian Cardinal Toumé came with the All Anglophone Conference, some became leaders. Today we have the Coalition for Federalists, some have become leaders. Coalition for Anglophone, others are leaders. So you see now that the elites, everybody want to be identified. This is where the problem is. Those who are on the propaganda side, even on the civil society front, there is somewhere others who are thinking that the elite who represented the people in government in all social aspects are outdated, they have become obsolete, and that there is a need for a new elite, class of elite, who think they are the ones. So you find a lot of this composition. Some too, who are really the elites of the old, who find themselves in, I talk those who were in school in 1950s or born around the 1930s, those who now find themselves comfortable in government for close to 40 years. You find them thinking that there is no need to handle it otherwise as decried by the government policies. Meaning they remain the only people who can act as interlocution, I don't know, as an intermediary between the state and their people. Those same people don't even go to their villages again, because the reason for this crisis started with their misbehavior. A lot of that, you find those who equally think that it is time for business. I'm telling you, when you get to the field, you realize that some people have created what they call anti-amber. Then when you find some people who are overzealous, I might not like to call names here, you see some people who, within the military, who are sponsored and accepted by some elites to carry out the acts they are doing, and being sponsored by those same elites. You find some who are within the war front. We can tell you that they do a lot of businesses within the line, so they will never love this war to end. In areas where we think, I'm telling you that at any time the government is thinking that there is positive peace in some areas, you will just be surprised within 1 week or 2 weeks there is an attack. There is an awful incident, even from maybe from the restoration forces or from the military. Some people will just open fire on civilians, like we find the situation in Womb, where the government spokesperson, the defense spokesperson, gave an analysis that it was loss of temper at civilians. That is an area people were thinking. We spoke with you here how the Menchum Valley has become so calm and cold, and that we haven't heard anything. I'm telling you that there is a need for more forces to go in there. When you send more forces, what do you think? Budget is increasing. Logistics for those who are in charge with management of the war is increasing at the time. Now in Mangfe, you see the same response. You find the same people giving you the same reason that the situation is worse than we used to think, because the attack now, we can't even manage. The question we asked here, people informed the town that they were coming. They came, operated, and left successfully. Nobody was wounded. Nobody was touched with a bullet. In fact, he finds the mercy of heaven and the soldiers of Abraham to have succeeded in carrying out a 4-hour operation without injury. And they will present to Yaoundé that the issue is that presently in Mangfe, there is even no personnel on the military. There is even no logistics. So the army can't really fight. A regular army that is trained. We have been told, I read in history, that 4 Israelites are capable of bringing a whole town down if well trained and monitored the situation. That CIA from the United States can overhaul the whole town of Douala and cause havoc within just 10 personnel. I was surprised that people give reasons that it is because the military are not even in their number, the equipment are not. So those who partake in the sharing of the budget within the crisis equally will be thinking that ending the crisis will mean ending a lot of the ambitious projects. Some went into this fighting with a lot of projects. I have seen people who are equally happy if the war can continue even like this for 2 years. I will mean the building in this place, I will complete it by then. We have seen Cameroonians who even left for peacekeeping mission abroad, coming back home to tell you that the mission in Sudan was successful. It takes a military man such ego for himself that you are sent to bring peace, and you start thinking that it is wealth for you. So those who are selected are highly favored, and it becomes a problem. Like when we say the other attack west in Gogetunga around Fumban, people gave reasons. Is that there is no equipment on the border, and that there were just very few of them, and that just imagine, before reinforcement could come, the guys went in the morning. The Amber boys operated in the night. People came with reinforcement at 7 a.m. They had gone. Which means we who are in front, because I know during the war period, there are some people who are there, even charged with peace. As the government keep on searching information on how to neutralize bad calm, there is always a government force on the other end trying to calm down the situation. And areas where peace has been attained, there is a need to maintain that peace as long as possible. But we find a lot of mischievous information, which means that there is what we call somewhere that there is an amber business challenge, that those who make the highest money during this crisis maybe are going to be the next elites of the generation to come. So we need to look at ourselves very well, because some business people too are doing good business. Okay. And we find why their businesses keep on succeeding in a crisis period, and other businesses have been closed down. There is a need for us to get into these details.
Good evening to you, Luis Pop, Notiva Franklin, and to you, Emmanuel Ekumban, and Stephen Puig Rogozinski. We say good evening to all of you. Good evening, Mr. Liu. A very edifying topic, a wonderful choice of panelists. I hope the very pertinent issues addressed with expertise will help shape public policy on the handling of this regrettable crisis. Claude Nyang is writing from Betua. Good evening to you, Claude, my very good friend. Good evening, Mr. Liu. It's simple. Our elites are just respecting the table manners. You can't be eating and talking at the same time. More to that, they are respecting party discipline. You can't bite the finger that's feeding you. It's just a complicated issue in the Northwest. Eugene, writing from Damas in Yaoundé. Felix from Kumba says, good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm enjoying the program. Please tell Prof. Mark to be audible, except that he is sick. Yes, he has an issue with the voice. Yeah. Paddy Asanga, let me come over. Okay, okay. No, before I come to you, Paddy. Yes. What would you have expected the elites of the Southwest and Northwest to have been doing this past 5 years?
Thank you, Mr. Liu, for the question. In the past 5 years, and with the so much casualties that we have, a lot of bloodshed, in my perspective, I think even if most of the people who claim that they wanted separation, I think even if they wanted separation, they would have primarily put strategies on how to protect their people, not to fall on their people. And so when you start seeing the killings that are taking place, you start asking the question, do we have elites in those areas? What most of these elites should have been doing is they were supposed first, primarily they should visit those areas. They should engage communication with the people as well as those who are holding arms. But the question is, can they engage that communication with them? How did they become elites? Were they in accord with their communities before they became elites? Or they took advantage of the crisis to become elites? Those are some of the questions, Mr. Liu. And that is why I would join a Prince to say that it is complicated to actually give you a definite answer to your question, because it is not easy for you to be in a community and maybe you are afraid that somebody is going to monitor you and react after one action you take. And so most of them, they prefer to stay quiet. But I think, and I will repeat it again, Mr. Liu, they were supposed in one way or the other to engage with the people. There are several ways to engage with the people on the ground. Several ways. And even if you cannot do much, the humanitarian aspect of it is very important. Visiting that community and sharing just might be what they can eat, because a lot of them are suffering right now as we are talking. Some of them do not have what to eat. I mentioned here once that I walked in Bonaberry and I saw young people living in the park. And when I wanted to find out, they told me they came in and they did not know where to go to. And sincerely, those same young people have elites that from where they came from. And most of them they actually have listened to us speak over this channel, over this TV, and over several other sister stations. So the question is, do you think that that young man who is living at the park will see you the same way that your family sees you? If you go back to the village and you meet, what will be the response of that person who is in the village? So I think that basically, Mr. Liu, the humanitarian aspect of this issue is supposed to be one of their primary focus. They should respond to the humanitarian crisis that this particular problem has created. Even if they cannot give an answer to the entire problem, but they can manage with the small they have and meet up with the problems that the people are facing due to the war. And Mr. Liu, there are some elites who have the opportunity to put an end to this particular situation, but most of them enjoy the fact that it is happening. Why? It has helped position them and given them what they need to be able to silence others. The business aspect of it is one of the reasons why some individuals, some of these elites will not talk. They will not do anything because they are gaining already from it. And I think that's already doing something. They are gaining from it, which is a negative aspect, but they are doing something by gaining from it. And so they have been able to set this situation where you see today, you hear that there is peace happening in this area, and maybe days after, or maybe a month after, bam, you hear that something happened. Who did it? How did it happen? You might not be able to explain, but most of these guys we call elites, they are aware of what is happening, and most of them are sponsoring it. Okay. So, Mr. Liu asking me what they should have been doing is like asking me, how do you take water and pour in the sea?
Okay. Paddy, Asanga, this silence, especially after Akwaya, we saw people die in Menchum. I come from Menchum. I did not hear much from the elite of my division when that happened. We also know of killings that have been happening in other areas. The silence of these elites, you and I, we've not also spoken or condemned anyway. I'm talking every day, so to some extent, yes, I'm talking every day. I preach peace also. But now, this long silence in the face of multiple killings, is it also very indicative of the fact that most of the elites are getting obsolete, and that there is need for a new breed of elites for these two regions?
Leo, do you want to talk and end up like Senator Kemende? Do you want to talk and be shot in the leg like the lawyer of Ayuk Tabe Julius? Do you want to talk and be kidnapped like Regina Mundi? Do you want to talk and be kidnapped like Christian Cardinal Tumi? Do you want to talk and be kidnapped like the Fon of So? Do you want to talk and see your head on the street as my friends of the diaspora here have decreed? Would you do that, Leo? We should be honest to ourselves. We should go to the root of the problem and say it as it is. We never had a situation like this before the creation of Africa. And others have been given. You know, as you are talking there, you only know that there is a price tag on your head because you are preaching peace. You just said that. And they have told you, their leaders who are sitting out here have told them that anybody who is preaching peace, if they don't negotiate with them, they will fight with them till the last man standing, but none of their children is sitting on the ground. So do you expect somebody to go and be a talking head and be beheaded? What are you trying to tell me, you? Let's be honest. Let us be honest. These are pertinent questions that you should ask yourself. I just brushed a panoply of people who have been talking. Okay, let me take the case of Wiba. Do you consider Wiba an elite?
Paddy, go on, please.
Mr. Dio.
Just develop. Yeah.
Wiba is an elite. These people who are sitting here in the diaspora done to Wiba. They have considered him a blackleg, insulted him, boycotted him, insulted him that he has become a bookseller like his mentor, Frundi, and so on and so forth. So that is the situation that we have. We have people here in the diaspora, and not everybody is like you and myself who will take insult, humiliation, calumny, and everything. Not everybody. So those of you who are at the home front, you know, and we want you people alive. A talking head that preaches peace is more than a dead lion. So I would rather prefer that the people sit around until those same community who were funding these boys, who brought this thing into them, they rise up and say enough is enough, because certain communities have been doing it and they have been saying it. Mr. Liu, they have been doing it and they have been saying it. They have been arresting some of those boys, either giving them to the military. I don't want them to kill them. And intelligence have been given. I would not like anybody to talk, because there is also another way of resolving the crisis. And I know the word in French because I read it in one book, the policy of rotted ground, la politique de pourrissement. So you now understand that the various communities that have been touched, who sponsored these boys, they nurtured serpents, and these serpents are coming to bite them, and they are going to the military. When the military is absent, maybe they are obeying to that policy of pourrissement, and that's why you have situations happening like that, because the government also created this serpent in their not taking care and not listening to dissonant voices within the assembly, people who were on the ground, who knew that something has been cooking for years and that the Anglophones have a problem they want to get back to the federal system. So I would not encourage anybody to talk and then die and then his children are abandoned. I will not. We are talking because we are out here like all of these people who are here. I know that if they get me, they will cut my head. But I also know that if they get anybody too who is flaming this thing from the diaspora, he too will pay the price. So that is where we stand today. And I would not for us, and as I've been trained within the SDF, life is sacred. Don't risk your life unnecessarily because you want to prove a point. It doesn't work like that. I think I have made my point, and I don't have much to say as far as that is concerned.
Okay, Paddy, we'll be coming back to you. Do you see also, as Paddy, that we have to... Okay, it's you. Yes. Do you see, like Paddy, that we have to protect ourselves and wait till the kingdom come so that we can survive?
The truth is, Mr. Liu, I want to say that Paddy has said it all. Paddy had said it all, and he took time to enumerate. He called some names. Where is Senator Henry Kemende, who looked at the Minister of Secondary Education and said, Madam Minister, ever since you became Minister, the budget of the Northwest has always been going down. You know, a lot of things are ongoing now so far as the crisis is concerned, and nobody wants to pay with their head. We also want to remember that the boss of the DDR Center, Mr. Liu, came out and said the Anglophone elites should stop, especially those of the Northwest, should stop telling lies. That's what he said. Now, he said so because people ride with armored cars into different areas, stand and take shots, and they rush back to Yaoundé. And the impression they give Yaoundé is, tout va bien.
No, when you say tout va bien, who is in Yaoundé who does not follow on social media?
Yeah, Mr. Liu, what I'm saying is, there are areas where people go there. There are areas we can call where people give the impression that all is well. I don't want to call names of villages. There are areas people give the impression that all is okay. The elites give the impression. I gave you an example that I'm just coming from the Northwest, where I saw an area where people used to stay there up to 10 p.m., 11 p.m., even 1 a.m. But now as early as 7 p.m., people are in their houses. By 8 p.m., you don't meet any person around the park. It tells you there is trouble. But now the main elite, because Mr. Liu, when we talk of an elite to an extent is not somebody who is intellectually strong. It's very true that if you are intellectually sound, you are an elite. Okay? But now we are talking about people who have the yam and the knife. That's what I said before now. And in the 360 subdivisions that we have in Cameroon, in each subdivision there is somebody who has the yam and the knife. Now when that person who is the major elite, I've had people who've told me openly that the way you talk, there is somebody who can meet you on the way, beat you, remove your teeth, and go show somebody. I will not call the person's name. Go show the person that this is the person I've brought it to show you. So it tells you at the end of the day that we know people who matter in this crisis, Mr. Liu. In each subdivision, there are people. I'm not saying I cannot do it. I can do it. I'm already doing it here. But now at the end of the day, how far can I go? There are bottlenecks along the way. Why? Because there is somebody whose interest the person doesn't want it to shatter. The other day, Mr. Liu, when I was here, we were talking about regional councillors. If none of the crisis will not have regional councillors, you don't expect somebody who is enjoying in his office, who has an office today, you come and tell the person, no, the crisis has this, the crisis has that. You are pouring, you're disturbing the person. So there has been a lot of development. And just like Dr. Ako said, there are people who are rather flourishing more in business now in the Northwest and the Southwest because of the crisis. A case in point, I went to the village recently and I discovered that beer there is sold now for 1,000 francs. Okay? It means that the people who are even there and are taking the risks to do the business are enjoying. They will not want things to come back to normal. No matter how you preach the peace you preach to them, you're just wasting your time. So I feel that, Mr. Liu, at the end of the day, like Paddy said, nobody wants to risk their life. We have had people who've come out, who've proven that, okay, we can. But where did they end? We know what Weber Joseph did. Honorable Weber did at the National Assembly. At the end of the day, what is Weber? He said it all, that Weber is, today that people say he sells books. But this is somebody who did what many persons quoted as the Napoleon Bonaparte of the people. We know what Senator Henry Kemendo used to do. We know what many other persons have done in this country. We know people, things like people like Felix Kongo have done, and a host of others when the crisis started. But the truth of it is, Mr. Liu, you will agree with me that the temperature with which a crisis started in 2016, the outspoken nature of many persons have died down. If they do not get to Mr. Liu as an individual, they either call a family member and tell you, warn this guy. I've received calls from my family members who tell me, this person and this person has called saying that, don't say this. Because each time you do this, you are stepping on people's toes. And at the end of the day, Mr. Liu, those who are supposed to solve the crisis, they are staying mute and discussing behind why. Somebody has had a job. The day you come and you want to say that the Anglophone problem is correct because Southern Cameroonians under Jongun Foncha met with La Republique under Ayijo, it becomes a problem. And as such, you're already opening the eye of somebody and the person tells you, do not forget where you are. I made you be where you are. So at the end of the day, it is just preferable everybody stays mute. Because if you don't, two things are concerned. If you're of the upper class, you either risk being brought down, and if you're just the common man down there and you want to show that you're a big boy because you can talk, your head will be put on a platter.
Okay, your head will be put on a platter. Good evening, I'm Akeba in Bamenda. Talking about elites are those in the diaspora, elites who are calling themselves representing of Anglophones, and they elected. Okay, good evening. Good evening, Mr. Liu and everybody in the station. This is Pastor Diamond Diange from Bafusam. Some elites don't want peace because that is where they get their piece of cake. Everybody benefiting from innocent blood shed will have questions to answer. We pray for peace and God's intervention because our leaders have failed. Okay, good evening to you. Hi, Mr. Liu. Good evening in the studio. Mr. Liu, don't expect the Anglophones to elites to say something as concerns the bloodshed in the Southwest and Northwest. They can't betray their masters in Yaoundé. Kudos to Dr. Ako is indeed a true citizen. Ayu Kelly is writing from Boya. Good evening, sir. I think the only way to solve this crisis is to have a change of regime. Thank you all in the program. Now, Doctor, if we say we don't want to talk because we fear and we don't want to be kidnapped, the persons that we are afraid of, they are our brothers and sisters. Should the elites not also take the lead to talk with their brothers and sisters and talk with the separatists?
Yeah, that is what I said at the very beginning. If you are an elite, if you can't go back to your village, if you can't talk to your people, then the bridge you were supposed to be has become a valley.
Okay.
You are the one to bridge the gap between what we mean, the wealth of your people and the poverty that surrounds them. You are the one to bridge that gap between the central government and the grassroots. If time has come when you cannot, just visiting, talk less of talking, because some people, like I said, have built glass houses. The moment you realize you have a better position than the others, you dissociate from village association. You cut off from social meetings. You are no longer a member of that alma mater that you were while you were a young guy. There are a lot of challenges for us to manage politically, for us to manage economically, socially, or at times culturally. We need to continue in the realm where we started. And somewhere they will tell you that a river that does not know where it takes its source will never know where it is flowing to. And this is exactly what happened. Some people will come to understand this only when the privilege given to them, sometimes in the past, is no longer with them again. You find yourself isolated in a community where even your own friends are no longer with you. This is exactly what happened with elitism. We, for those of us who are here, we are talking. We are talking. And I'm saying somewhere, I would not like to think that you should not talk. Talking is the least thing that God has given everybody. And if we can find churches, we can find pastors, we can find evangelists, every day preaching and talking around, who are you not to denounce the evil that falls on your people? And if really you are with your people, people should not use an excuse that they will be killed. There are people in Yaoundé where it is still safe where it is still safe, they are still unable to talk. Just imagine that. You are not talking in Bamenda. You are not talking in Manfi. The people are telling you that, tell the head of state. Remember, one of the first aspects that some of us said Cameroon has failed in handling their Anglophone problem was the moment the consortium was dissolved, where those who were present, who represented the lawyers and the teachers association, were they not Cameroonians? Didn't they have the power to talk with the government? Then, like we always say, a lot of Cameroonians, I don't know whether once you are in support of the government, you must tell lies. We have realized that lies have become the pass mark for you to support the government. For you to support the government, must you tell lies? Must we tell lies? Government needs the truth to function. State institutions are improved upon by the recommendations. If such recommendations are even coming from members of government, it will be very strong. If it is coming again from some elites, yes, you find with what Professor Mark said here, an elite is anybody who can influence state decision within a group with his quality and caliber. Meaning, there are people who are elite who support the government, but they are not in politics. We have seen a lot of Southern Cameroonians give in a lot of money during the reconstruction. We see a lot of Southern Cameroonians who have equally been out to march with the government to condemn killings. We need to see the same Southern Cameroonians to march and tell the government that our brothers and sisters have died enough and that it is time for us to provide real solutions. Yeah, because we have said sometime here, a lot of solutions proposed so far, I call them cosmetics, perishable solutions that have not offered any real changes on the ground. Why not? If you doubt the force of federalism, try it.
Doctor, we're going to get to the elites and engaging government, but I want us to talk about elites engaging their brothers and sisters, those who are actually holding the guns. But why not those who are leading from out of the country? We know Sako, we know Ayuk, we know
the dictators, the Macbarators, a lot of them.
Yeah, we know all of them.
Yeah, what I'm saying here, Mr.
The Ayabachos, the Marianta, and the Christian, the elites themselves, can they? These are persons they know. Why can't they engage them away from the government?
This pride. One of the things that is killing this particular republic, we call the Republic of Cameroon.
No, we are talking about elites.
Yes, what I'm telling you that it's a general Cameroon malaise.
Okay.
You cannot remove a government official Cameroonians from pride. Cameroonians will be very hard to go low. I told you sometime here that when I look at the image of Joe Biden, who knelt on his knees in front of the son of George Floyd on the streets in an open air, it reconciles a lot of souls. I told people, when you see the English Cameroon case, imagine President Paul Biya, Nyat Jifenji, Kavayege Jibril, knelt at what we call the square, Bongo Square in Boya, televised on CRTV, to tell Southern Cameroon we are sincerely sorry and we believe we can start everything all over. It would have given, it would have given a different impression. Imagine not sending people as messengers whom we know already nothing will change. The Prime Minister came as an angel, everybody carry on. Yes, we were happy. But what has become of that Bamenda meeting, the Boya meeting, with peace plans? What is the remnants of that?
Dr. Ako.
It is an elite.
Dr. Ako, please. We are going to come to that.
No, what I'm saying here is that
the question is that you are an elite from Manyu.
Yes.
I am from Menchum. You are from Babanki. And we know that Senator Bilamoki Charles is from Fako.
It's from Fako. Yes.
We know Professor Ngolengole is from Kupe Manenguba.
Yes.
We know these elites, the Northwest and the Southwest. Why can they not also talk to their brothers? I've called names. We have Ayabacho Lucas, we have Marianta, we have Sako, we have Chris, and we have all of them out there. Why can an initiative of the elite class of the Northwest and Southwest that we want to engage you, brothers?
Yeah, that is what I started my talking here by citing Belamoki Charles.
Yes, but
he's doing great at his level.
Yes.
And remember too, that talking, there is what we call reciprocity in negotiation.
Okay.
If one person considers the other as bigger and the other person, there are a lot of languages we use. we must not necessarily equally talk with those who are outside. A lot of people have equally been talking at home. Nobody knows. Remember one time I asked you a question. When you have 1 or 2 people who are in the bush and you want to bring in the village, let them stop or declare guns. You had a response that we all receive at the same time. That at the end of the day, it should be that you may be manipulating and you are feeding information from those people. Meaning you go to the same authority. In order to fight the crisis, you have people you think they can drop their weapons. And the end of the day is that you are indicted for cooperating with terrorists. Just imagine such. This particular aspect kills a lot.
Okay.
There are a lot of people in the diaspora whom I said first. One of the highest fear is that they are under a state indictment. That every time they approach Cameroon, and we have seen some already arrested.
Yeah. Okay.
Can they fight first? For us to talk with you, remove this particular indictment on us so that we start talking with you.
No, you are still talking government. We are talking today about Northwest elites here.
Yeah,
that they are the ongoing. We are not talking. Yes.
Mr. Liu, responding to the question you asked, Dr. Ako, let's be sincere. The same people who took advantage of the crisis are the same people you mentioned. For example, you talked of Sako, you mentioned the name of Beneza Ekanga, and you can call the rest. These are the same persons who took advantage of the crisis that happened. And when people like Agbobala and the others were manning the consortium, struggling to negotiate with the government in order to press and get to meet the front, when they were all bundled and locked up, who are those who took advantage of this, the leadership lack? When the space was empty, bam, they stepped in and they took advantage. And so you do not expect such persons to actually come and sit and then negotiate or talk with the people whom you say they are in the bushes. They will never tell them to stop because they have something in their mind. They either want things to get bad or they get what they want. And I don't think what they want is actually the separation of our people from Cameroon. They want what they can have in their pocket. So it is very important that we make this thing clear. Most of these guys sitting out there in the diaspora and deceiving our brothers, or let me not use the word deceiving, telling them, keep on fighting, do this and that, we'll give you this. They are not working for the good of these brothers because they are seeing them dying every day. They keep on deceiving them. So, Mr. Liu, if somebody tells me that those people can say anything, they don't have anything that they can give. Those are destructive individuals with an agenda, not an agenda for the good of the people of Southern Cameroon, an agenda to feed fat from the situation. And they are feeding fat, not exempting these guys. It is an issue that is both ways. Because when we talk, it might be as if I'm talking only about the guys in the diaspora. There are people in the government who do everything possible that this crisis should never end. Because they know what they are getting out of it. And as long as they are getting something out of it, try to negotiate whatsoever you negotiate, they will destroy it from behind. And Mr. Liu, not only destroying it, your life, it's just like Paddy said, your life is at risk. As long as they know you, your life is at risk. So when you are that individual who is working for peace, it is either you are working with the government or you are an amber. And so at times, like Paddy mentioned, it is better to stay quiet. But being quiet also means that you are an accomplice. Because I don't believe that when you see wrong, you should stay quiet. In the midst of wrong, we speak out. We speak out when it is not okay. The truth is that there are a lot of people back there in the bushes right now as we are talking who do not want to be in the bushes. There are a lot of persons that are suffering when they do not want to suffer. I took advantage and I participated in one meeting where the Prime Minister visited Bamenda, and I went to listen to what he had to say. I will say it on air. That day he made mention that this time around, there should be no strategy that must come from up. People, you know these guys, get to them and talk to them. And some of us asked him that if we go there, wouldn't we be tagged as Amber? He said, okay, if they, how then will we meet the people? Because normally there are individuals that are close to you. If you take their number and call them, they will say you are an accomplice. So he said, it is time to get to them. Talk to them as much as you can talk. I saw it as a green light, but I also think that even though he said that there's nothing official making it official, that I should talk to such a person, because by the time you talk, when they arrest you, they will not care whether the Prime Minister gave a go-ahead or not.
Okay.
And so those are some of the things that a lot of persons are afraid of.
Okay.
So they will better stay them quiet and watch the thing happen. So, Mr. Liu, let's be sincere. Those boys in the diaspora, they do not have anything they can say to the people in the Northwest and the Southwest. Nothing. The only thing they can give is the havoc they are creating. If they thought and if they were thinking of the welfare of the people, I'm sure they would have been looking for strategies to handle the issue. But they do not have any plan. If you look, just look at the situation which we have on the ground. They came up, they have spoken of my trip to this place, they have talked of the plan, but none of the plans are strategic. They do not have any plan. So they just woke up one morning and met a situation and dive into it. And they have led a lot of lives to the dead. A lot of persons are dead because they deceived. In fact, I use the word deceive because they told them that it will happen in a month. A month passed. This is 6 years going. And our brothers are dying every day. Our sisters are dying every day. But they keep on fueling the issue. So if you want that these boys should speak to our people, they don't have anything. And don't consider somebody who is sitting over there and is gaining from the situation to be an elite. Such a person is no elite.
Okay.
They are thieves.
Okay. Hello, Mr. Kum. Not only elites have gone mute. There is total fear of the unknown in the Northwest and Southwest region. Even moving on the streets of our English-speaking towns and villages is so terrifying because you don't know what will happen in the next minute, let alone talking carelessly about this crisis. I salute the courage of some of your invitees who still brave the odds of still coming on air to plead for this government to do something for peace to reign. Greetings to my Mukage brother, Prince Joel. Please, may I know from which village of Mukage subdivision is from? Paddy Brown is one of the best tellers in Bamenda, writing there. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and greetings to all in the studio. Everyone's life is important. If you try to negotiate with the separatist leaders abroad, you may likely be arrested. This is Japheth, writing from no, not Bamenda, from Yaoundé. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and your panelists. Ask Dr. Ako if we should continue killing ourselves and destroying our own properties if Paul Biya does not kneel like Biden. Thank you, Prof. Mark Anthony, for speaking the truth. Ernest is writing from Bambalang. Good evening to you. Ernest, nobody is capable of stopping this nonsense called Anglophone Crisis. People will come on TV and blow grammar, and it will stand and remain on air. The only person who can stop this is the Anglophone population. But let me inform you, Anglophone Crisis is different from Amazonian terrorism. Just that the Anglophones were informed and yet they are still not informed. Gilbert Nsalanyu, writing from Kumbo. Good evening to you, Gilbert. We are celebrating the good news that came from Germany, that Ngonso is going to return. I am also very happy because I once received members of the Nso Cultural and Development Association to campaign for the return of the Ngonso. So I say congratulations to the Nso community that has fought so hard to get this victory. Good evening, Mr. Liu. These elites cannot talk to the people because they are aware that they have lost their credibility in the eyes of the people. They are not sincere. They are benefiting from the crisis. In any case, whatever has a beginning has an end. Paul is writing from Bamenda. Paddy Asanga, someone is writing from Bamenda that not only elites are afraid to talk, but that even the common man is afraid to talk about what is happening on the streets of Bamenda. What should happen? Should the elites give up? Should the population give up?
Leo, I'm going to shock you what I'm going to tell you right now. And I am a victim of what I call Jacobinism. I was kicked out from the University of Yaoundé like Ayabacho, together with 6 others. And the letters of our dismissal was signed by late Abotabi, may his soul rest in peace. But that doesn't give me that spirit of attachment. Mr. Liu, when we went to a Grand National Dialogue, invited by Cardinal Tumi, Anglophone General Conference, we were trying to say, and even before then, we said with Dr. Monzo, Kemende, and every other Anglophone that you deem an elite, call it the opposition or not, that we should come together and sit down and talk. The person you call, Ayabachu, came out and said, Monzo, I have guns, and Cardinal Tumi should stay out of politics. They went on, I have all those things in my archives, they went and threatened them because they already had projects and people were ready to give them money to buy guns. You want to know that even during the Grand National Dialogue, I was privy to this information because I engaged many people who are within the government, many people who call themselves elites, and they told me that they were talking to these people in back channels. I said, make that thing official. Remember that I was in the De-Radicalization and Disarmament Commission because I am a social worker. I have been working with people who are hardened criminals, and we vet them before we put them back into the society. So these people, they don't have any agenda. They know that there's nothing like Ambazonia that is going to happen. But these are people who have been living from asylum, giving affidavits for people to collect asylum, and they will never engage in any serious discussion when they don't have kickbacks. When they went to Switzerland, and if you want to doubt what I'm saying, go and consult one of their own, Mark Barata, they collected 5,000 euros each, provided to them by Switch S. Professor Mark Anthony is right, and at the time, they also invited us because it was some kind of a meeting. They say it was a capacity building conference. That's how it is. But we refused to go there because we thought that we Anglophones should sit and not and get common front and come to a middle ground, something that is feasible. But these people, they hurriedly went there, collected this 5,000 euros, which is a lot of money, and without any commitment from the Cameroon government. And luckily for us, who refused to go there because we knew that at a certain point, the government will be pressured to dialogue. We refused to go there and say, no, we would prefer to go and dialogue and talk to our brothers and sisters. And the idea of inviting them came also from the Cardinal. And you can imagine that there are many people, horrible things like burning flags, they came to the national dialogue and nothing happened. But these people who have spent most of their time, ask them to show their working contract, ask them to show you their pay slips, who are living in the diaspora, they will not show you anything. And there is unclear evidence that so Mark Anthony has just revealed on your platform, which is on social media. It's common knowledge. They are abusing themselves. Amber versus Amber. Where is my trip to Boya? Where is National Aid Campaign? Where is TOT? And so on and so forth. And then we still see young boys and girls parading the bushes, running in our streets with den guns and kidnapping people for ransom, trying to do some kind of showmanship. Oh, now it is No Pity Life. Now it is Tubu Life. Now it is. So these youth also have found a way, and you will not take the guns from the hands of those youths. But what is befalling these guys in the diaspora is that nobody is giving money to them anymore, and that's why the kidnappings are rampant, and you will see all the atrocities that are happening here, because these guys at the beginning of They were able to collect money from people and call those boys our fighters, our fighters. But they have exposed themselves to an extent where those their donors, the gullible Anglophones who thought that they could get independence from these clowns, believe me, those are my words, who are sitting here in the diaspora, they have come to the realization and they are not giving them that money anymore that they used to manipulate those boys. What do those boys do? They go on air, they take personal initiative, they go and do roadblock, they go and seize guns from people, they go and kidnap senators, kidnap some of them, they even kill them. Where do you know where those people who the delegates of India are today? You know that the families of those delegates also paid ransom, but they have been killed. I'm telling you this, they have been killed, and the person who ordered their killing is somebody also who was dismissed from the university sitting in London. So these are people that you would never have them to accept or to do what is right. They know, and they have told you that some of them will not even come to Cameroon. So they are fighting for you. You fight for somebody that you know that you will never benefit from what you're fighting. How hypocritical is that? So, Leo, when you see our elites being silent, remember when the incident of Pinin happened, the chairman Fuji was so upset that he said, what I've seen in Pinin, if I were young, I would have also been into the bush. Ask the chairman Fundi if he will repeat that statement today. Ask Weber where he stands today. Ask everybody, all those people, Chinda, and all the Senate, the elected officials who were so vibrant, who were so virulent against the system, who rose up and said, let's march. Go and ask all those people who marched in Boya when the SDF was marching. Ask those people who marched in Bamenda when the SDF was marching, that if they will do it again. You want to ask Bala where Bala stands today? Do you want to know where somebody like Anyangwe, Dr. Monzo, people who have carried the Anglophone cause on their heads for decades, where they stand today as far as this thing is concerned? When you have the answers to that question, you would know that the solution lies within the common man. And when the common man would rise again, and we see that population that we saw when the consortium was active, when Bala and all the other students were molested, then we'll have a solution and we'll use that population as our collective political capital to sanction these people who they are blaming for mishandling crisis.
Paddy, thank you. Paddy, thank you. I did not want to cut you, Paddy, because 3 persons wrote to me today that anytime Paddy is talking, you like cutting him. So allow him to talk today. Paddy, I hope I did not cut you today. Yes. Yes, it's just 3 persons wrote to me today concerning Paddy that, Mr. Liu, you love cutting this guy today. Allow him talk. Okay. Now, I will still ask the same question to you. You heard what Paddy Brown wrote, the common man, that not only the elites, even the common man is afraid. Are we doomed?
Mr. Liu, the truth is that the common man is sitting like an orphan, waiting on the mercy of the Almighty God. Okay. The truth is that I went to Bamenda, and I discovered that the people are getting used to Mondays. Mondays to them means nothing again. In fact, it's Mondays that they hold the Njangis. Instead, the Njangis are on Sunday. Sunday is a busy day for them. While we rest in Douala, it's very busy to them in the Northwest. And now on Mondays, it is rather the day now that they do their activities. Mr. Liu, another issue is the fact that a lot of things are ongoing. It will shock you to know, Mr. Liu, that if you get a cab now, for instance, from Bafoussam, and you're going somewhere around Kambe, you pay at least 18,000 francs. I was asking myself, but when I traveled, I discovered that the drivers were not even taking any money. It was too small. Because the number of checkpoints that they need to go through, they give at least 15,000 from Bafoussam, 45,000 from Bafoussam right up to Kambe. It tells you, Mr. Leona, at the end of the day, who is suffering? It's the common man. Because it is the individual who pays his fare, it is a driver who owns the car who is settling these different checkpoints. So I think that at the end of the day, Mr. Liu, the common man is, like I said, is an orphan. But at the end of the day, the main person who is the real elite are doing nothing. We're expecting that they should have done something. When you go even to small communities, Mr. Liu, you discover that there are 2 groups of individuals you see in any small community. There are persons who are very good friends with uniform officers. And there are the others who are also good friends with the boys. And at times you want to even call a friend and sit with, especially the female type, a female lady, you want to like, they tell you, don't go there. This is a no-go area because it belongs to somebody with a uniform. It tells you that the common man in the northwest and in the southwest are just living on the mercy of the Almighty. And if at all they have the chance, because a majority who are there today, Mr. Liu, I'm saying that close to 60% of Anglophones who are in the northwest and the southwest, particularly in those areas that are really hot. I'm not talking about areas like Moliko, I'm not talking about areas like Boya, that there is relative calm. I'm talking about areas that are really hot. If you still find these individuals in these areas, it is because maybe they don't have where to go to. Prof. Mark just said that he saw a group of guys in Bonaberry. They are still there. Even as I was coming this evening, I saw a host of others. They are still there. These are persons who at one time, because I was in the village and I saw so many realities. If you decide to just stay put in a small community, and when maybe you don't join the vigilante group when you have muscles to join, they think you are for the separatists. If you are too calm and you don't interact, or they see you with the military and they say, okay, you are errand for the military, you are now a target for the separatists. So at the end of the day, it is a very complicated situation for the ordinary man whom, like I said, is like an orphan. And there is something that I want to tip my cap to Prof. Ngo, who did the program with you, Mr. Liu. There is something he said that was very, very important. That most elite today, it was through Prof. Ngo that I heard that a commissioner was supposed to rewrite the history that is part. 2 years after, nothing has been done. Nothing, that no document has been done. It tells you where we are, and that certain people construct roads to their houses. Ministers. When I said that thing in my own small community, because the truth is, Mr. Liu, when you say certain things, you are considered a bad man. Prof. Mark said something here about talking the truth. But he's going to agree with me that if you say the truth in your own area, your MP, your minister becomes an automatic enemy to you. He feels you're not patriotic. He feels that you're supposed to tell him, no, Mr. This thing is correct, this thing no. I tell you that, Mr. Liu, a lot of things are ongoing that when I look at them at times, and I look at the life that the common man is living. If we at the level of Douala can be complaining of la vie est chère, that life is increasingly expensive, what becomes of a common man in the village? It may shock you to know, Mr. Liu, that in certain areas in the northwest as well as in the southwest, once you want to do a mobile money transaction, you buy the money. If you want 5,000 francs, you give the person who has the kiosk an additional 500 francs.
The situation is that you mean that the common man is helpless.
That is what I'm saying, Mr. Liu. The common man is helpless. I'm talking about the fact that if at all they had the opportunity, I spoke with parents, and a majority of them spoke in the dialect, and they told me if at all we had an option. But now at the end of the day, they don't have an option. Life is extremely increasing, which means, Mr. Liu, that if you were to send money maybe to a brother of yours, you need to already put on your mind that the additional charges I need to pay, there is an each money you pay, there is an extra deduction. So I feel, Mr. Liu, that at the end of the day, I keep saying this thing that the people who have the yam and the knife are those MPs. Are those ministers, because they are the ones that people fear. When I went to the village, you see, even in a small house, people are afraid, people run away from you. They feel that you may come and intoxicate their minds, and they feel that you have the way you look at things that is not correct. Why? Because a group of individuals have already, I don't know how to, brainwashed people so much such that a group of persons are too comfortable with the way they are living. So much such that whether it's good, whether it is bad, they are very okay.
Good evening, Mr. Liu. I like your program, very interesting and educating. Bravo to Paddy, because he is really talking the truth. May God bless him and continue to guide all of us, of you in the studio. Samuel is writing from Bamenda Alakuma. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. When I hear what Dr. Ako says, I'm ashamed that, okay. Paul writing from Betua. Okay, Paul, I will not read anything that is insultive. If you write anything that is insultive here, I will not read it, please. Let us all be civil. You may disagree, but just put your points through without insulting. Good evening, Liu. Please, Mr. Liu, give Paddy more time to educate both youths of Cameroons and elites. This guy is good. Bello Salifu. Bello is writing from Yaoundé. Why are many more persons asking Paddy to talk more? Good evening, Mr. Liu. The elites did their best at the early stage of the crisis during the consultation meetings with the Bilingualism Commission. A common proposal on a return to federalism was reached. What has the government done with it? Only guns are talking now until when a ceasefire will be reached. Elites will be able to talk again. Justice is the only thing left to push the people, the population, to stop the crisis. Okay, issue of justice. Almost everybody wants justice. Linus is writing from Bamenda. I don't know who it's going to. Hi, Mr. Liu. The Anglophone crisis has been hijacked by the Amazonian war. The fear to speak truth to power has enveloped all the elites and even the local population. Elites and non-elites, common man, do feed fat from the Amazonian war at the detriment of the masses. Abia is writing from Kumba. Good evening to you, Abia. Greetings to you, Mr. Liu. God will bless you and keep you safe so that you will continue to organize programs like this to educate Cameroonians. Please try to bring those Anglophone Yaoundé elites next time. They know the answer, man, in name for class. Keep your good work. Brain Dane writing there. Good evening, my media prime. This problem has been caused by the tongue. When people went to the streets, they were caught. Okay. Now see the results. The habit of using force to solve any type of problems. The only solution to this problem now is this country should create week of prayers. Stop every activity for prayers so that God can intervene. Stop calling. I won't take any call today. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and thanks for the great job. May I ask Prof. Akumbom what he thinks should be done as a solution to this war, and by who, since all those who are in the diaspora are up to nothing, yet we feel their impact on daily basis. Tikum Nicodemus is writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I think if we say that the government don't know who to talk to, then we are not sincere, because the government once said there is an initiative from Swiss. Okay, Oscar is writing from the United Arab Emirates. The question I want to ask you, Prof. Dr. Ako, are we not also hearing much from the elites, because the Anglophone elite is also very divided along tribal, along political, along so many lines?
Yeah, one of the things that has created more impact in this crisis is regionalization.
Okay.
Regionalization in the sense that at one point, some people even label it a Bamenda War. Others said it's a South or the Northwest crisis. Remember, some people have called others come no go. Others have appropriated their region as belonging to them, and that others don't have the right. Some people went as far as naming the various generals, that more of the generals in the Southwest, all of them, are from the Northwest. And somewhere you find the Southern Cameroon Forum, the Swella. You find a lot of other social media platforms where the intention is to preach divide and hate among the English people. But then, for those of us who have been academically oriented, we know that in terms of crisis, there is always what we call political positioning. Others are thinking that at the end of the crisis, yes, it has gained some. Others have received new appointments because of the crisis. Others have received new political decoration during the crisis. Others have gained employment because of political favoritism, that they hated one against the other. And so others have learned to preach hard that the Northwest and Southwest will never be brothers and sisters. And that even if we believe, which they know will not exist, come to be, there will be no region or there will be no country known as Southern Cameroon where North and Southwest will live as brothers. If people can go this extent, you don't just see it from hawkers. You don't just hear it from Bayam Selam. You are getting it from the top, highly educated elite. When people start calling you, say, you, go and talk to your brother. It means this is that particular person that is causing the problem. You, go and talk to your people. It is worrying. People know the truth about Southern Cameroon. Even the head of state in it today know that from the time the third option was dropped out, the United Nations, from the time the country changed from federation to United Republic of Cameroon, there have been a lot of cracks. From the time the 6th September Accord of annulling political parties, multiplicity of political parties to one party system, Anglophone Cameroonians have considered living together as a scam. And there is always that continuous group that always stands. And we are here. You will not tell me that Pa Otto Nayamba, who held the position of the president of SNC, when he died in Manse, it was a total military takeover. When people believe he was the president of the defunct Southern Cameroon country, which never still existed. So how is today the division of Northwest and Southwest stopping and avoiding us from settling a problem that commonly affects all of us? And I will believe that we should understand that what kept people together is always stronger than what's dividing them. And this is what we need to know. A common language, a common culture, this is everything we share together. We have been on this line, somehow people will put it, since after the Picot line and the division of Southern Cameroon. We must believe in that. There is a time, what of the whole nation? And when we look at the divide between Anglophone elites, you feel like the other regions of Cameroon are not touched. It's a lie. Remember, there is a strong battle, even presently among the dwellers. The Basas will tell you that Douala belongs to them, and the Douala will tell you that Douala belongs to them. These struggles are found everywhere. But the power that exists among us is the reasoning on a common good, that we have a common base, and that we can easily resolve what divides us than certain division among what unites us. There is always that character that the Southern Cameroonian elite, I mean businessmen inclined and everybody inclusive, that there is a need for us to create a forum. And we cannot understand why up to now, some mayors spoke that there was going to be no all Anglophone conference. Others who had the power to give a solution to it could not even dare visa or authorize it. It is up to today, there have been no letter or no decision granting that Anglophones should talk to one another. There is a need for all the elites, no matter your background, no matter your political lineage. At times, what do I see with politics? Some people think that politics is to divide. Politics is a misunderstanding. That we have an argument on idea does not mean that we should separate from one another. That we disagree on issues, but to agree for a common good. We must not think that the regionalization, the division, that is Northwest and Southwest, should continue to eat or continue to profit. Yes. Somewhere, people will tell you that a politician is egoistic. That what he presents as a general interest at the beginning is his own plight for him to receive fame and conquer. But then there must be that iota of saving the people. Okay. We must believe that all Anglophones elite, starting with the top, because I've told people, the moment the top cannot unite, then the center can no longer hold. Okay. Those who are on top of the stream, if they kept on keeping the water more dirty, those who are beneath will keep on carrying very sad and dirty waters.
Good evening, Mr. Liu. I like your program, very interesting and educating. Bravo to Paddy, because he's really talking the truth. May God bless him and continue to guide all of you in the studio. Please allow Paddy to talk because he's really educating Cameroonians. Okay, Paddy Asanga, so many persons are celebrating you today. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and to you people in the studio. And for me, from Bamenda, this problem is a Southern Cameroon problem, so the government knows where this problem is coming from. It knows the people that they are fighting, they know where to start talking, and the people to talk to. Mr. Liu, how can the government say there is the problem Okay, we are talking more about the elites from the southwest and northwest regions relating to what is happening, especially what happened in Akwaya recently. We've heard very little from the elites. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Are the northwest and southwest people English people, as Dr. Ako is saying? Please, you should not mislead people. I don't know what this... Good evening to you all in the panel. Very brilliant ideas from the panelists, especially my brother from Mr. J, because all what he says, I've experienced it too. In our village, he has really mastered the mentalities of the villagers and their elites. Konyu is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening to you, Konyi. Good evening, Mr. Liu. This program is very educative. Congratulations, please. That program with Prof should be rebroadcast so many times because it will bring back Anglophones to the truth and their senses. Yes, just today I've received more than 50 persons asking for a rebroadcast of that program. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I love Paddy Asanga's contribution, but I miss, okay, Apostle Ambe. This war is beyond human reasoning, so let's pray revival for revival. Eric is writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Lovely program. May our good God continue to protect you guys for saying the truth. Akaya Godwin from Bomenda. Okay. Good evening to you, Akaya Godwin from Bomenda. Good evening, Mr. Leo and crew. Do we really want an end to this present brouhaha? Why did government reject the Kadnatumis-led proposal for mediation? Now, we are talking about the elites and division. But so many people are talking about justice. Who will be spared by the justice that almost everybody is talking about?
Mr. Liu, the question is, this justice that we want, who is going to actually give out the justice?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to begin by saying that it is true that we have an elite group that has actually forsaken and abandoned their people. But each one of us have the responsibility to try to put our people on the rail. It is difficult in a time of war to give out justice.
Mm-hmm.
Unless the war comes to an end. And so those who are asking for justice, all of us, we want justice. You just ask the question, who will be
spared?
Mm-hmm. The truth is that in one way or the other, everyone has a reason why justice will meet up with them. A lot of us who have refused to speak and taken advantage of the situation, you will have your own to give. Justice will meet up with you. For those of us who have decided to be speaking towards one direction, justice will speak. And so, in every area, Mr. Liu, but I'm sure that the persons who are talking about justice, they are speaking from a particular direction,
mm-hmm.
where they believe that the Anglophones, or let me use the word, the Southern Cameroonians, have for a long period of time been facing injustice. And as a result of that, they think that there is need for justice to be accorded.
Mm.
That is but true. But I want to say this, we can't get justice without, first of all, having peace. It begins with peace, reconciliation, then we go for justice. Because you can't give out justice or accord justice to an individual who has not been proven guilty. So there is need for us to, first of all, think of how to settle the problem that we have before we talk about the justice that is going to come after. If we are looking for justice in the midst of war, it will never come. If we think that somebody is benefiting from the situation, and maybe you think that the best way to give that person justice is to tag people black leg and do what you can call those names and kill them, that is not justice. If you feel like maybe, for example, I've seen some military persons have caught up with 1 or 2 Amber boys and they killed them and claimed it was justice. It's not justice. they will all face justice when time comes. You don't take an innocent life and then you say it was justice. It's not still justice. Such individuals will face justice when the war is over. And so our focus should be peace. How do we get to peace? If we can successfully get to that position where we have peace, then we can now start talking justice. Because at that moment, we will know that, okay, this person did like this when we were in the midst of this problem. So we can start handling such situations. So I think Cameroonians, Anglophones, Southern Cameroonians, focus your attention on peace rather than focusing on justice, because justice is something that we are going to actually have when the time comes.
Okay. That's going to actually be our focus for tomorrow's program. We're going to be asking whether peace or justice, which one should come first in as far as the Anglophone crisis is concerned. So tomorrow, that is going to be the topic for tomorrow. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the entire panel. I want to salute all of you, and especially to Dr. Ako for speaking out, as it is believed that the record will finally be set straight as far as, okay. Godlove is writing from Bermuda. Good evening to you, Godlove. Good evening, Mr. Kum. While I appreciate your topic today, what is not understandable to me is why you cannot call these elites to your platform for them and face them heads on. Why is it so? Okay. Are we not elites? These are our elites now. Yep. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Great congrats to you and your team for putting this caliber of programs to educate and deliberate on solutions to the Anglophone crisis. It is unfortunate what is going on in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. History alone holds the solution to the problem. Prof made it very well. It is without doubt that a lot of bad faith existed in the past that compromised the integrity of the living together of the people of, yes. The government should allow all the Anglophone elites to form a unitary front, hold consultative meetings among Anglophones, including those sponsoring the war from abroad. And the elites need a safe space to speak, and this safe space should be provided by the government. The elites need to forget about their political parties, their individual differences, and unite for the common good of Anglophone Cameroonians. Okay, thank you there. Good evening to you, Mr. Liu, and everybody. Thank you guys for the great job you guys are doing to keep Cameroonians informed about what is happening in their country. I have just this message for all Cameroonians that there will come a day that the wind of change will fall on all Cameroonians, and on that great day, no one will stand on the way to stop the change. Okay, Mr. Clifford is writing from West Coast, that is in Limbe. Good evening to you, Mr. Liu, and everyone in the studio. Okay. Good evening to you and the entire panel. I want to salute all of you, especially to Dr. Ako. Okay. Okay. Good evening to the panel. Dr. Ako, we want but 10 federated states. Southwest and Northwest should never be one state, because Southwesterners too will be marginalized by Northwesterners. Egbe Paul writing from Mamfe. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. No way, Southwesterners and Northwesterners will not be in one state. Okay. This one says, Mr. Liu, good evening. Please ask Paddy whether they can't pick all those guys like Akeba and the rest who are fueling this crisis. Let's see, I don't know whether Paddy is working at that level. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and to all in the studio. I perfectly agree with Dr. Ako. The solution to the Anglophone problem lies in the hands of the elites and not on the common man. Okay, Paddy Asanga, as it stands, what do you think the elites and the common man should do to help save the situation?
Leo, I will tell you, I am very, very implicated in situations that is happening in Cameroon. And I'm sorry that I'll take it back again to the Anglophone General Conference when Dr. Simon Monzo was at the head. And the idea was to create an Anglophone caucus in the assembly because of the obese CPDM majority. And I consider every person who was elected at the time as an elite. And to us, those of us who have been watching and are criticizing Western democracy, we pick what is good from Western democracy and we throw what is not good for our people. We don't want homosexuality and all sorts of crazy stuff, that they are LGBT nonsense. We don't want it. But we Anglophones, we are not a tribe and should never be considered as any other tribe, any other configuration, any other entity within the Cameroon configuration as we speak, or political configuration as we speak. So we as Anglophones, we speak English. There are two official languages in Cameroon. But I am more culturally, I'm more close to somebody who is in Buddha than somebody who is in Manfe, like my friend and good my brother, Dr. Ako John Ako. Now, the idea of an Anglophone caucus in the assembly was to carry to the limelight and say, okay, now that we, all of us, agree that there is a crisis within our region, we should put a front at the assembly. That one is still possible, and you will cut above political lines. You want to understand that the CPDM has the majority assembly, and if the others let them create an own caucus that would involve the two parliamentarians of the SDF and some, if there are other opposition parliamentarians within the Northwest and Southwest, to address the problem. Because all these decrees that Mr. Biya sits in Yaoundé and sign, they create elites per decree. It would not work. We want a constitutional change, and that Anglophone caucus was to call for a constitutional conference that all the Cameroonians, Anglophones, would sit and said, we came for the tripartite, and the tripartite came out with the 1996 constitution, which has failed. So these are, and even if the Anglophones, they sit together and they say, okay, we are delegating our parliamentarians to go and represent us as as an Anglophone caucus, the civil societies, they come and they say, okay, we'll constitute ourselves as syndicates. Bike riders come into that conference. They delegate people from all walks of life. And coming out of that, if the government is still stubborn, we transform our region into a political capital and sanction them. If we think that we have to converge to Boya, to Manfe, to Kambe, or to Bali, for whatsoever conference, then we do it. But, you know, because of political gains, infighting, so on and so forth, people will not succumb to that. So the population which came out and decried what happened to their lawyers, their teachers, their students, they have the mandate, because when they talk about sovereignty, sovereignty is given to anybody by the people. So the Anglophone population has some time to put itself together and say, enough is enough, and this is where we want to go to. If we do it that way, I think we'll be getting to some kind of a solution. But if we think that it's going to come from elites, when we sit and they will lose their political capital that they have amassed for years, they will not allow it to go that route. But the problem that we are facing right now is because everybody is afraid to go on the street and or to sit somewhere because there is ban on assembly in the Northwest and Southwest region. So I think that those people who are representing the Northwest and Southwest region in the National Assembly should start thinking of an Anglophone caucus or an Anglophone General Conference, thanks to His Eminence, late Christian Cardinal Tumi.
Thank you very much, Paddy. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm enjoying your program, and I will beg of you to give enough time to Mr. Paddy Asanga because he's talking the truth and no condition is permanent. Braga is writing from Ndop. Good evening to you, Braga. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Thanks for all the things you have done for this crisis. From Blessing in Yaoundé. Hello, Mr. Liu. Good evening. I think the elites are now really doing more harm than good. The people who started the crisis are no more being heard of. I really wish the elites could stop harming those they have to protect, and at the right time, God will vindicate us, and we shall have justice. I'm Cedric, writing from Kumbu. Good evening to you in the studio. The Anglophone elites are divided and are not focused on their personal interests. All those who are dying are Cameroonians, both the military and Amber boys. I have been in the till date. I know military men that have helped us so much, but when the adversaries see that we become targets. All we want is peace. God be our helper. Giyo Sesh is writing from Mile 2, Nkwen, in Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Talking without action will not help. Everyday people are dying. We should stand for one solution. Bruno is writing from Bamenda. Dr. Ako is a positive thinker. Good evening to you all. Thank you too. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Anglophone elites cannot go home to preach peace. If they could, the fun of Bambalang would not have been kidnapped. Okay? Mr. Liu. Okay, I've said that any message that is not civil, I won't read. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the panelists. The program is very interesting and educative as well. I really wish Mr. Fa was on the program today. Also, please, can the program of Prof. Victor be... Wow. Hans is writing from Bomaka. Yeah, everybody wants to watch that program again. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Justice could still be given to the Anglophones if the problem is solved from the roots. It's Chris writing from Kumba. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I love that you people should keep up, okay? Good evening, Mr. Liu and the team. Your topic is sweet today. Now I wish your program could be followed to the rural areas, but we have been like blood out. Let rural electrification projects take place so our people be informed. Peter is writing from Kumbu. Yes, the way out for our elites and to regain the confidence of the people and actually deliver.
The first aspect is Mr. Liu, an elite who was legitimately voted by the people, does not need any support from his people, because the people came out as one person and said, okay, Mr. Leonard, you're the one who wants you to go and represent us in the National Assembly. I wrote something somewhere, Mr. Liu, and I said that I only heard of a youth parliamentarian from my area on a newspaper, on the Guardian Post. I never heard when the campaigns came. I never knew what happened. I just heard that the parliamentarian for the youth parliamentarian for Mukage is. So when some of those things happen, Mr. Liu, you start asking yourself whether the elites up there are helping the people. Because if you are legitimately voted, if you are voted by the people will hardly stand against you. So elites who were originally voted by the people still have their say. That's the first thing. And secondly, Mr. Liu, the common man who has stayed neutral, who has been from neither, who is on neither camps, has had no problem since the crisis started. And I think that it is time that those we call elites, I mean, I'm talking about those in Yaoundé, because somebody was thinking that elites are those who are in Yaoundé. It's time that those who are in Yaoundé, who are actually the ones benefiting from the crisis, who don't want the crisis to end, because you agree with me that since the crisis started, a lot of things are ongoing. We have the DDRs, people have had employment, you have the public independent conciliator, you have regional councillors, you have so many things that are ongoing, and people are getting employment in different sectors. You don't expect people to want the crisis to end.
Okay. Good evening, sir. What irks me is those fueling the crisis in Anglophone regions can't step their foot in the country to feel what we are going through. If you dare ask any of them to come to the country and come on ground, know what's going on, they will curse you and your entire generation. I'm just a mere student and I've been captured and tortured 2 times with no crime. Schooling has never been a crime and I will never be. I just want everyone to come together and think with a positive mind and embrace peace. Asa is writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm really enjoying the program. Where is Apostle Ambe? He is on sabbatical. is resting. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I love your program so much. God bless you. People in the studio love everything Dr. Ako is saying. Joel is writing from Buya. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I support the fact that of 10 state federation because 2 state federation will bring more problems among the Anglophones. Atabong is writing from Mutengene. I want to thank you all for coming. Doctor, thank you for coming.
Yeah, Mr. Leonard, once more, we are talking Southern Cameroon. We are all indigents of that particular area, and I believe very strongly that God is still going to say something. Even
my greetings to my family back at home watching at me, and to my aunts who is presently in Bamenda, and the husband, Doris, whom I love so much. Good evening.
Okay, thank you too for coming, Prince.
It's a privilege being on board always, Mr. Liu. It's time that those who think that they have the yam and the night, they call themselves the elites, because when some of us go, we can hardly have anything to say because they sit in Yaoundé and dictate. It's time they to go to the village, pay the transport that some of us pay from Bafoussam to Messager, 18,000 and 18,000 back, and pay again. Now, it means that if you were to go that area and come back, if you don't have 70,000 to go, don't even think, not to talk about the expensive nature through which life has been. But when people roll from Yaoundé in their luxurious cars with security, go to the village, come back, sit in Yaoundé and say everything is fine, I think that they too should go and pay fare like some of us are paying. Mr. Liu, I want to extend special greetings to the peace-loving people of Mr. who are watching the program this evening, and most particularly to His Royal Highness Fon Thomas Kimbose, who is watching the program.
Okay. Paddy Asanga, thank you for coming today.
Yes, Leo, I want to thank you very much, and this brilliant platform that we saw it grow and has given the Anglophone a voice, because, you know, the media platform, the media space in Cameroon has been politicized and polarized. But now Anglophones have a voice, and I think that our elites we should try to lure our Francophone brothers to put pressure on the Cameroon government to solve this problem. And if we have a collective narrative that we say we want a constitutional conference that will address even the issues that are happening in Douala, in B and in the north, and so on and so forth, we will get something. But if we say that we want to separate, nobody in the diaspora, no international community is going to come. There's not going to be any other country in Africa again, because we have walked through those corridors and we know from which vantage position we are talking. So we are not just here sitting in the diaspora and folding our arms, but we are talking to these white boys who created these countries that we claim that they are our countries, whereas they are mini states where the influence is coming, if not from Great Britain, it is from France, from Belgium, from America, and what.
Paddy, thank you.
We have to. You're welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Special greetings to the bar president again. Donatien, greeting the bar president here. Good evening. Mr. Liu, you people are doing very well. When drops of rain keep falling on a particular spot, before long the spot will have a mark. That means that spot has changed. Your program is the drops of rain, and the people who are to adjust themselves at the spots. They will change one day. Don't stop talking. Thank you very, very much. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Why do some people think that the Northwest have the monotony of marginalizing Southwesterners? It is a shame to have this type of mentality. Barnabas is writing from Bamenda. I want to thank you all who took time off to watch this edition of the program. Thank you to you, Desmond and Eli, and to you, Tabi Tambe Bryant, supervising the work we do out here. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.
Welcome to a new world of TV broadcasting. My Media Prime. News, discovery, culture, sports, entertainment. A BT Media Group channel with slogan, The African